It is an amazing project. We are going to be cutting wood with our Cricut, and this is going to be a project for both our Cricut Explorer and Maker people.
Yes.
So I'm really, really excited about this one. Now, a disclaimer, this is not going to be possible, I don't think, on a Joy or a Joy Extra.
I don't think so.
Because we are going to be using the deep point blade. If you all have never worked with a deep point blade, it is an amazing asset to have in your crafting arsenal. It is going to be in just the housing for the deep point blade is black. However, just in case you guys didn't know, you can have a deep point blade and put it in a regular Cricut housing.
Right. It's just so that you know that it's different. So
right.
You don't like mix them up. Yeah.
Because the difference in the regular fine point blade and the deep point blade is going to be the angle of which the blade is cut. So the fine point blade is actually, when they make the fine point blades, they cut that at a 45-degree angle. And the deep point blade is cut at a 60-degree angle. Y'all, that is the only difference.
Good information. I had no idea.
You didn't know that?
Well, I knew that they were different angles, but I didn't know 45 and 60.
Yes, so the fine point blade is a 45-degree angle and the deep point is a 60. And did you know that if you purchase they're our favorite blades that you can get, if they're the Amazon blades, there is I don't know what you would call it. It's not a fine point blade, but it's a smaller angle. So it's said that
extra fine
point blade. Extra fine that is said you can use on like even thinner materials.
Have we tried it out?
I have not.
Oh, we need to.
But I think it's like a 30-degree angle versus a 45 and a 60.
Yeah.
So we've never used it. It might be one that we could and should try out on like paper and things like that. I don't know. But the more you know, the difference is the angles of the blades.
Yeah. Today we're crafting for Christmas, but we're not doing like green and red. This is more like a farmhouse Christmas project.
This is more Courtney's vibe when it comes to Christmas.
Farmhouse, yeah, something like that.
And let's talk about this adorable little name tag that we have added to, or stocking tag that we have added. Y'all, these would be great stocking tags or gift tags, whatever you want to use them. Let's go overhead and I'm going to show you guys what it looks like up close. So you can see it is a Christmas craft, but it is not red or green. It is going to be more of like a farmhouse style. Or you can do really whatever color you want on the back of this. So let's go ahead and go over the materials that we're gonna be using today. First off, we do have our wooden tag. Now, linked down below, you can get the tags and the beads together. There is a link for Amazon where you get the tag and the 3 beads per tag for this. So that is a great combo to go ahead and grab. But we are gonna be using a wooden tag and just like 3 natural wood beads. Now the star of the show today is going to be our Cricut wood veneer. Now this is going to be what takes this to the next level. You can see here on our name tag, Parker is in this Cricut wood veneer. This is what we're gonna be using the deep point blade for. Like I said, you can do this on your Explorer Series machine or on a Maker Series machine, so we love that. And once again, just like we said earlier, if you do not have a Maker or an Explorer, maybe you have a Cricut Joy or the new Cricut Joy Extra, which is amazing. We do have that and we love that machine. You can actually choose whatever color permanent vinyl or heat transfer vinyl you want. If you want the same effect, I do know that Caesar has I think it's called Cashew is the name of the heat transfer vinyl that would look beautiful with this, that give you the same, I guess, natural wood look that you can use if you do have a Cricut Joy or a Joy Extra. We are going to be using, this is gray chalk paint, and you know what, guys, I'm not even 100% sure this is the same color gray that I used.
I think it is.
It might be.
It'll be close enough.
It'll be close enough. It might, actually, what may make it look darker is this, which is the new Maker's Magic from Scorch Marker. Y'all, if you have not used this yet, let me just go ahead and tell you, you have got to test this out. Now, I know a lot of people here love to seal their projects, so this is an amazing alternative to other sealants that we have used on our channel before. The reason that I like Maker's Magic more right now is because it doesn't leave brush strokes near as bad. Honestly, there are hardly any brush strokes left at all.
Yeah.
So we love the Scorch Marker, the Maker's Magic. Now this is a gloss finish. If I'm not mistaken, I think all they have currently is the gloss, but they are working on a matte finish of this.
I just love how thin it is.
It is so thin, but it coats so well. And I'm telling y'all, definitely get you some of this because it has become a very fast favorite here at Maker's Gonna Learn. So that is also linked down below. We are going to be using heat transfer vinyl. This is just the Caesar Easy Weed in black and a strong grip matte. And then of course your favorite weeding tool, whether that be a pen tool or just a regular weeding tool. We're gonna use either one of those today, depending on which one you want. Finally, let me get this up out of the floor, and actually I may go ahead and turn this on here in a minute. We are going to be using a Cricut Mini Easy Press, and that's just going to be to adhere the HTV down to our painted tag. Oh yeah, obviously we need a paintbrush to paint our tag with. So we have that there. Now, let me move everything out of the way. With that being said, I think we're ready to go ahead and pray that our mouse, oh, it's working. Yay! It's working. Okay, so before we jump over to our share screen, let me pull up our project. I guess I can't turn it on if it's not plugged in. I'm gonna plug in our Mini Easy Press first. And then, I don't need it just yet. Oh, okay. This is great. We are going to be able to teach you how to download a font from Maker's Gonna Learn. And we're gonna download a cut file as well. So Daydream is the font that we're gonna be using. So before we get 100% started, we're gonna start out at the Maker's Gonna Learn website. Okay, we are still signed in, perfect. So the font that we're gonna be using today is going to be Daydream. So to download a font from our website, the link for the wood does not work. I think I checked it earlier and I thought it did, or maybe it's the link between it. I'm gonna have, Courtney will double check that for us.
It's on Amazon and you can just search Cricut wood veneer and just the Cricut brand one. But
are you talking about the wood veneer or the wooden tags?
Oh.
Either way, let us know which one is not working and we'll get it fixed. So Daydream is the font that we're going to be using today. Now, one thing that I do want to say about Daydream is the Y's and the Z's for some reason don't have a little circle in there. So if you do have a name that has, that needs that, you might want to look for something else, or if you want to leave it like that, you can do that as well. But this is the font that we are going to be using today. And to download a font from Maker's Gonna Learn, what you're going to do is you're going to click the arrow that points down. It's going to download. Now, downloads will be either on the bottom left or the top right of your computer. Depends on what type of computer you have. But what you're going to do is you're going to double click that. You're going to unzip it and open it up. We're going to double click it again. And here you can see that we need to install the font. So from there, what we're going to do is click Install Font. It's going to install it either into your font book if you are using a Mac, or a character map if you are using a Windows. Once you have downloaded that, we are going to go back to Design Space. You had to completely exit out of Design Space and then come back in. However, if you click View and you reload Design Space, it will reload that font back in there. if you are working and you haven't saved your project, you always need to save your project before you reload. We haven't done anything here, so we're just going to click reload. That is going to reload Design Space. And now you can see once it reloads, we're going to grab the text. Oh, here it is. Grab a text. You can go to your fonts, go to your system fonts, type in Daydream, and there it is. Lovely. Well, that's just odd. You see what it did?
Oh, that is very strange.
Well, let's see if it does.
When it was small, it wasn't a problem. But when you made it bigger, that's
Nope.
what happened?
Nope, it changed. It just, let's do it again. Let's see if we can come in here and grab a text box.
Oh,
I wonder if it's just the X.
It's hollow. I wonder if you could like contour out the middle. I don't know. We'll just fix the font.
Yeah, we'll fix this font if it's,
Hopefully
is just.
your name doesn't have an X in it.
Hopefully. So anyway, once you have your text, you're going to type in your name. Let's just use Asher. Asher today, and pull it. We're going to make it big, because the reason that I'm going to make this big, and I'm going to pull this to the side, is because you can see here that we probably need to kern this font.
Yes,
now,
please do.
What does kerning a font mean? You can see where the A meets the S. It doesn't look right, and it's because this S overlaps this A. What you need to do, there are a couple things that you can do. First thing you could do is you could come up here to letter spacing and just start moving it out, but that's going to move all of the letters out individually, and now you can see that this doesn't look really good together. So I'm going to move the letter spacing back down. So back down to 0. My favorite way to do this is to go to Advanced, Ungroup to Letters. What that's going to do is that's going to make each individual letter, as you can see over here on your layers panel, that's going to make each individual layer each individual letter its own separate layer. Okay? So really and truly, I think that if I want to get really, really specific, this H could be moved out a hair. So what we can do, I love working with the layers panel when I'm doing this because it doesn't move everything. So I'm going to click H and then either we're going to click H and then the shift key, E and R. And then using my keyboard, I'm going to hit the arrow pointing to the right and just move that to the right a hair. And you can see now that that S, the end of that S, is not peeking between the H here. And now with these three still selected, I'm going to click the shift button and select the S as well. And now we're going to move all of those out together. Now you see this A and the S meets perfectly, okay? This is also one with this font, if I wanted to, you could move that out and check and see. I don't think it looks as good. Some fonts or some letters may look better if the capital letter is separated from the rest of the word. This one I thought would, but now that I've seen it, I don't think it will. So I'm just gonna move it back here so that it connects all together. Now, one thing you must do once you have kerned your letters or moved your letters around, you are going to drag and select all of your layers. You're going to go down here to combine, and there are two different functions that you can use. You can either use unite or you can use weld. What that's going to do, weld is a permanent function. So if you select weld and let's say you go out and come back in, you can't undo what you have done. It is there, it is permanent. If you are still here and you don't go out and come back in, you can hit the back button enough to get back to where you were. However, I've just kind of moved into more of using Unite more just because it's not as permanent. So what we're gonna do is we are going to unite this, and you can see it makes this all one layer. Now it looks like it's separate layers here, and that's because if I wanted to, I could come in here and let's just pick the R for example. Select that R, and I can still move it around if I want to. Don't have to. Whereas if it was weld, let me show you what would happen. Let me click that R and move it back even more. Now, it united it back together, but if I had selected weld, let's do undo unite. If I had selected weld, you can see it's all one, and I can't come in here and individually choose these letters and move them, okay? So that is why I like, personally, that is why I have come to use Unite more. Now there are instances where weld is a must, and it's just, it works better. It's just what you have to do. However, if I had the option to do Unite or weld, I'm gonna go for Unite before I go for weld. Just a little bit of explanation, okay? Yes, there's gonna be a replay on this. As always, these are gonna stay on our channel. You can go back and rewatch. If there is anything that we discuss during this live and you don't understand, you can always go back and rewatch. Okay, so we have our name here. The next thing that we need to do is place our tag. Now, one thing that we need to talk about is the fact that if you don't have Cricut access, you don't have access to the shape down here of the tag, but I'm gonna show you how we're gonna get around that. So if we come overhead.
Wait, we have the file on our website.
Oh, we have the file on our website?
Yes.
I'm a doofus.
Was it not linked?
I don't know.
Let me see.
We'll just go back here. Look, we'll just go back to Cut Files and click and search tag.
Oh, this was a different live, yeah. Search tag, and we should have a similar tag. Well, or we have a lot of other tags. I was getting confused with the tag when I did last week, that we did use a tag from our website. Yeah, maybe that one. Either way, you can just show them how to use the...
So we do have, I'm pretty sure we have all of the shapes on here.
I think you can use the access files and not cut them. You can design with them, even if you aren't a subscriber to Access, but then we're not even cutting the tag. So you would just like get rid of it at the end. Just use it for sizing purposes.
Okay, well we'll just use it for sizing purposes and then we'll get rid of it. But I thought that we had, we do have a tag.
There we go.
Look at there. Gift tag shape. You can use the gift tag shape on our website because we made it a point to all the shapes that you have access, that people who have Cricut access to, we have those basic shapes on our website. So what I would suggest you do, favorite all of those basic shapes if you want to use them to cut with. That way you can quickly find them on your Maker's Gonna Learn website. So to download that, you're just gonna click download. We're gonna double click that. We are not cutting plywood. We are cutting Cricut
wood veneer.
Wood veneer. It's like a very thin wood veneer.
And that's the only wood that you can cut on an Explore series.
Yes.
Which it uses the deep cut blade. So you can cut that on the Explore series and the Maker series, but you can only cut with the knife blade on the Maker series, which we're not doing today, but that allows you to cut basswood and one other very thin wood. And we always recommend getting that wood from Cricut because that's like what actually cuts. You can get similar wood other places, but you'll have to test with your settings a lot more, and it's not as much of a guarantee. So if you're only doing a few wood projects like that, we always recommend getting the Cricut brand one.
Yes.
But plywood, you're gonna need like a laser cutter or a CNC machine or something.
Yep. Okay, so we have the gift tag here. We're gonna add it to Canvas. We're going to size it up, and then we're gonna come overhead and we're going to grab a measuring tape, and we are going to measure. So we're looking at, it's a little less, if we want to get technical, it's like 4 5/8. I don't think we need to get that technical. I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees. So back in Design Space, I'm rotating this 90, actually.
-90.
We're going to do it 270.
270.
Yep.
I would always do -90. That was good on your feet math.
I'm an on your feet math kind of gal. So
I did want to say that sizing, just go off of the tag that you have at home. The ones we linked are a slightly different size than the ones we're using today.
Yeah, so you definitely need to make sure you measure your tags. So we are, like I said, this is technically 4 5/8, which if you go by decimals is like 4.675. Pretty sure, yeah, it is. So you're just gonna go by your sizing at home. We're gonna do, let's type it in, our width, or yeah, I guess it would be hot. 4.675.
Did you unlock it?
I did not, for a reason, yet.
Oh, okay.
I wanted to do my length first. Now go back overhead, and we're going to measure our height, which is 2 3/4 in height. And you can see back in Design Space, this is taller than 2.75. So what we need to do is unlock this and then change our width to 2.75. And that is going to be the size of your, that's going to be the size of your tag. Now, Renee says, couldn't you have used the flip feature? Absolutely, Renee. You could have used whatever feature you wanted to get it the same, the way that the direction that you wanted your tag to face. My brain just automatically goes to rotate and numbers. You could have used the flip function just as easy. Like I said, I feel like I say this quite often. There are always going to be 20 ways to skin a cat. You all know that I love that saying. So really, whatever works for you and your brain is, oh, Carol, it is 4.625. You are right. I'm incorrect. Thank you for that. So what we're going to do now that we have our tag, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in so we can see this. And we are going to bring this to front. And we are going to size our name. Now, what you are going to want to do first, once we size this down, you can see that this name is pretty thin. One thing that we did find is adding an offset to make this font thicker is going to work so much better when you are cutting on wood veneer. So this is kind of a little hack. If you feel like your font is too thin, or maybe you're trying to cut a font and it's too thin, what you can do is, with your font selected, go to offset, and I'm going to type in, I just need a very, very tiny offset. So we're gonna put we'll start with 0.1 and see what that looks like. And you can see, I don't know if you can see the blue, we'll zoom in some more. So we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna place an offset on this name, 0.01. Oh, let's try this one and see what it looks like. We'll just do 0.02 because it's there.
Yeah.
Because it's there.
And it looks good.
Looks great. So now what we're gonna do, we're going to take our original name, push it over here, and this is gonna be a lot easier to cut with that wood veneer, okay? Yes, you can cut this on the Cricut Air 2. You can cut, as long as you can use a deep point blade, which you can on the Cricut Air 2, the Cricut Explorer 3, the Cricut Maker, and the Cricut Maker 3. This project is going to work for you. So what I'm gonna do, you can either delete or hide this name. We'll just hide it there. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is we are adding the little like the abstract or the Aztec lines. So what we're gonna do, back to Maker's Gonna Learn.
This file was actually inspired by like a shiplap wall that I saw on Instagram. I loved how it came together like that, but they use like actual pieces of wood.
So Aztec chevron design is the one that we're going to be using. Once again, you're going to click that arrow pointing down. We're going to double click that, make sure that it opens up. We're going to go back to Design Space, go to Upload, Upload Image. I love working from Finder. If you guys haven't been able to tell, I love working from Finder. So I'm going to drag and drop that. So when that turns green, I can release. Boom, there it is. And then we're going to upload that, add this to Canvas. I keep saying Canva. I've been thinking about Canva a lot recently.
Yeah.
And then you are going to be able to size this as large or as small as you want. So if you want most of the diagonal lines to be in there and not very many of the horizontal lines, you can do that. But we're just going to size it to where we feel happy. Now I am going to arrange this and send it one layer back, or at least, there we go. Send it back to where it sits on the name. That way we can kind of get an idea of how large this is going to be, okay? I think this is where I would like for it to be. Now, there are a couple different things you can do. You can cut it this size and then just trim off the edges, or what you could do with the Aztec design selected over here on your layers panel, once again, we're gonna click the shift button and we're gonna select the gift tag shape, and then I'm gonna come down here to slice, okay?
I would be careful, because what if your angles aren't the same?
What do you mean?
Like the angles on the gift tag.
Oh.
If you were cutting that out of like paper, or if you were cutting it out of wood, that would be good, because you knew that that exact shape was what you had in front of you.
True.
But you don't know the angles of, and I didn't bring my protractor today.
Oh, yeah. So, okay. That's a very, very good point there, Courtney. Thank you for bringing that up. So, because we are just using this as a guide, we do have the gift tag guide, but it is not exact as to what our gift tag is. It's going to be best just to size this approximate. That way you do have a little bit of wiggle room, and then we can cut that off.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you for reminding me.
You're welcome.
So what we're going to do is we're going to, now that all of this is here, we're ready to go. We're ready to cut this. So I'm going to hide my gift tag. I'm going to go over here, delete all of this. Actually, we'll just hide it all. We don't have to delete it. We're just going to hide everything. Hide all of this. And this is what we are left with to cut.
Right, so you're going to cut the back out of HTV and the front out of wood if you have it, or I guess HTV as well.
So now we're going to go to make it. We're going to start with the HTV. Now this is one, it needs to become, just go ahead and make it a habit to mirror all of your HTV designs. You can see mirror on, mirror off. You can't tell a difference. Maybe just a little bit, but it's a good rule of thumb to go ahead and turn your mirror on. That way you get in that habit. Because even as a seasoned crafter, you're going to forget to mirror your HTV. Yep, so what I'm doing now is I'm just adding, now I'm using a strong grip mat. I don't necessarily suggest using a strong grip mat all the time. It's just one that I have in here. And I'm going to cut my material to the size of what I'm cutting out. So we're just gonna cut this across. And once we have that, what I'm going to do is I'm then going to go to continue. We are using an Explore Series 3 machine. Now, one thing you need to do, make sure you don't have your deep cut blade in there and cut your HTV with it.
I'm gonna run and get you that string. And do you want some tape to tape your
Yes.
other thing
Tape, and there was something else.
The string?
Yeah. And I feel like there was also something else, but it's okay. We'll figure that out. So I'm just going to be cutting this on everyday iron-on using a fine point blade today. So we're just gonna load that into our Cricut. And while that is cutting, I'm going to go ahead and paint my tag. What just happened? Longer mat required? No, it's not. It is a 12 by 12. That is wild. Y'all, I am using a 12 by 12 mat, just so you know. I may need another mat. This is saying it's not a 12 by 12 mat.
Is it the one without the hole?
It's the one without the hole on it.
No way.
Okay, guys, we have just now ran into something. And something that you all need to be aware of. So, we've got somebody watching from Ireland. Welcome, Stephen. I want to show you guys something. Let's go overhead. We just bought these new Nicapa mats the other day. They were the strong grip mats. First of all, can you tell that there's something missing on this mat than normal? Anybody? Okay, let me just go ahead and tell you. There's not a hole up here to hang it with, okay? And look, it was saying that it needs a 12 by 12 mat. It's like a 1/4 of an inch shorter. Look at this.
That's crazy.
And Cricut is not recognizing it as a compatible mat.
I'm wondering, all these other people are saying they have that same issue. I wonder if they all happen to have the same kind of mat, or if it's like a Cricut issue going on right now.
I swear I think it's just because look at that. Look at the difference.
Yeah.
I think it's because it recognizes that extra 1/4 of an inch as a 12 by 12 mat. And although this space, the space that we're working with is 12 by 12, I swear I think that's why.
If you're in the chat and had this issue, let us know if your mat was Cricut brand or not.
Yeah. So anyway, it's not, it doesn't matter whether it has a hole or not. Like, that's not the problem. It's when you actually put these mats side by side, you can see this one is longer than this one. I think that's it. Janelle says that she had the same problem. Okay, so at least it's not us. At least it's that. And honestly, that's the first time that we've used those.
This
So
is so interesting.
Makes sense.
Yeah, Cynthia said that she used a Nicapa mat first and it didn't recognize it. Then she used a Cricut mat and it worked.
If Cricut stops recognizing off-brand mats, I might actually lose it. I might lose it. Oh. Okay, so we're just placing our HTV down here.
Well, so far,
who knows? Okay, let's try this again. Okay, so while that's cutting, I'm going to be adding some paint to our tag. Now, you all know me, you don't have to be very precise with this. We're just adding some paint. There's gonna be too much on the front, so I will add what extra is on the back of this tag. Okay. Now that that is done, oh man, that was a little thin, Court.
oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I forgot to mention.
Oh yeah, you did forget to mention
Well,
that.
you were there when I was weeding it the first time.
It's okay.
I had to be very careful.
I will try. What am I smelling? Oh, I need to turn this on. Okay. We are going to cut this off.
This is for a well-seasoned weeder. Maybe we should have put an offset on it.
You could have very easily put an offset on this. So I'm leaving this on the mat, number one. We're definitely, oh, you know what? I guess I didn't cut through that side enough.
Would reverse weeding work? I don't like reverse weeding that much.
You can't reverse weed with HTV.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Thank you. Duh.
Because you already have the transfer tape built in. But I mean, y'all, Caesar does a great job. Their Easy Weed really is my personal favorite. Like, I don't think you can beat it. Because, I mean, it's tiny, but look how easy this is weeding.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Oh, you're doing so good. Wow, you did much better than I did. It took me way longer. Well, I think
just now getting back into the
miscut.
swing of crafting.
Yeah, I've been a little
It's okay.
out of touch.
It's okay.
Is the veneer the same as the Home Depot in thickness? Oh no. Wait till you see, Sandy, how thin this veneer is.
Okay, so I'm gonna sit this right here to the side and we're going to load our wood veneer. So let's talk about how thin this is. Are y'all seeing this?
It's like thick paper.
Yeah, it's
But
like
it really
thick
is
paper.
wood.
It is real wood. You can see it's real wood, but it is so thin. So if you have never used wood veneer, I definitely think you need to try it. I'm trying to decide if I want to go against the grain or with the grain. I think I want to go with the grain.
With the grain.
Yeah. So I'm going to place this down. Now this is a new standard grip mat. However, I still have trust issues. So
I brought you the tape.
we are gonna grab some masking tape. Now you can use painter's tape, masking tape. I think painter's tape or masking tape for this one specifically, you need to use, sometimes I like to use washi tape if I'm like taping down glitter paper or things like that. Washi tape is great. This is one that it is a masking tape or painter's tape kind of project, okay? So what we're gonna do, we're gonna be cutting this on natural wood veneer, okay? I am going to cut this on more pressure just because I want to make sure it cuts all the way through. Yeah. So we're gonna come over here to our Cricut. I'm going to change out my fine point blade. Now this is a new deep point blade. We just changed it when we made this one the first time. So I am doing it with more pressure. And I'm going to show you guys a little bit of a hack when it comes to cutting wood veneer that you can do. So I'm gonna load this in. Remember, I'm cutting it on the natural wood veneer setting, more pressure. It's going to measure the mat length. And then once it has done that, we are going to press the play button. Okay, while that is cutting, we're gonna come back overhead. Which side? Oh, we're definitely, obviously using that side. I needed to use a little bit more paint on that side. I was just in a hurry.
Okay, also, can we do a little quick update for everybody saying the supply lists weren't working? I don't know what that was about, but if you refresh your page, they should all work now. There was some kind of issue with how they were added. But yes, because this is a very specific kind of wood veneer, so be sure to get the Cricut brand for the best results. So
yes. Okay.
There you go.
So I am placing this HTV down. Now, as you can see, this has the hole up here. I'm not putting, you can put the HTV through the hole if you want to center it like exactly. I'm just doing it a little to the top. We're going to be using the Mini Easy Press at a heat setting of 2, and we're just going to come in here and place our HTV down on our wood piece. Okay. Once we have done that, now the HTV is going to be stuck to this side, but it's not going to be that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here with these scissors and just trim this part up. And then come back with my Mini Easy Press and make sure that gets stuck down right there on the edges. And then I'm going to peel this up. Now, you can see there's some places, darn, that piece got pulled up. Sorry if my big old head is in the way. We're gonna get that fixed. We'll fix that here in just a second. Well, shoot. Okay, make sure that gets stuck down.
Shauna's wondering why we're using black HTV on a black matte tag. Our tag is gray, but it's a dark gray. We kind of wanted a subtle look. I think it would look really good on white if you painted your tag white, but we were just looking for like a subtle monochromatic little background here. It really does kind of look engraved, would you say?
Similar,
like
yes.
From far further away.
Yeah. So what I'm gonna do now, and I did this because I wanted to make sure that I got all of these. So what I'm doing now is I'm just coming back through here and we're just cutting, and we can actually do it on the table. I'm just cutting these extra pieces off the edges, trimming that up. And then trimming those little pieces.
Somebody asked about the hole. Does your tag have a hole?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I thought so.
Yep, it does. And you can see I actually dap glue. I just not thought of that.
Oh, okay.
You can see that I put the line on the upper part of that. So now, if you wanted to seal this, this is the point where I would add the Maker's Magic, okay? Let me peel this up off the table real quick so I can get all of this out of the way. I'll probably still use this because the Maker's Magic, like I said earlier, is a, it's going to be a shiny finish, and I want it to contrast against the wood veneer. So here in just a second, we're gonna add the Maker's Magic. Before we do that, I wanna come over here to this camera. And what I advise you guys to do, before you pull up before you unload your mat, you definitely need to make sure that your design cut through, which it looks like this did. It looks like it cut through pretty well, but I wanna pull up this corner and really see.
This is a great tip for Kathy, because Kathy said that she was hesitant to try wood veneer because of the cost. She's afraid she's gonna mess up and end up wasting all that money.
Okay, so it looks like it cut through on the top side, but for some reason it's not pulling up as well on this bottom half. So what I'm going to do, without unloading the mat, you're not touching this, you're just gonna press that play button again. On a Maker Series, it's the Cricut icon. We're just gonna press that again. What it's gonna do, it's gonna pull that back through, and it's going to cut it one more time, okay? So while that's cutting, we're gonna come back overhead. I'm going to rinse out my brush. And we are going to add a little bit of the Scorch Marker Maker's Magic to our tag. Now I'm not using a foam brush. I'm just using the same paintbrush that I painted the tag with. I'm just gonna make sure I dry it pretty good. We don't want it super wet, but it's okay if it's a little bit wet, but we just wanna make sure that it dries out just a little bit. And I'm just going to get some of it on my brush. And you all can see how thin it is. And we're just going to do a thin layer on here. And we're gonna let that sit. Now we may come back in with Now, did you put a heat gun to it to dry it? Or did you let it sit and dry?
I let it sit.
Okay. Well, for all intents and purposes, we may grab us a heat gun here in a second.
Do you need me to grab it? Or is it down?
Normally there's one down here. Yeah, you might need to grab it. Sorry, I feel like I've been making you run a lot during this live.
I'm just seeing my exercise.
Back and forth. Okay. Wanda said, could you use Mod Podge? Yes, you can, but we have really fallen in love with the Maker's Magic. It just has a really great finish to it. It is very thin and it leaves little to no brush strokes, which I love. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna come back over here. Now that this is cut a second time, now it's pulling up so much easier. You all, can they see that? How much easier that pulls up, Sadie? Okay, so you can see how much easier that pulls back up. Now we are ready to unload. We know it's cut all the way through. So we're gonna unload our mat real quick, and I want you guys to see how easy this comes up. We're gonna remove our tape here and here. Well, my masking tape has decided to give me a little bit of trouble. But look how easy that cut, y'all. Ugh, I love it. And now we're just going to pull out those little middle pieces. And what I'm going to do is flip this over. Let's go ahead and take this off. Here we go. I'm going to flip this over because I don't want to damage this name by pulling it off. So I'm letting gravity remove it from the mat for me. And now you can see we have a beautiful little name tag. Now I am hitting this tag with a little bit of heat from the heat gun just to get it to dry a little bit faster because we are on a live. Now normally I would just tell you guys to let this sit and air dry.
It dried pretty fast for me. I don't remember an exact time, but I wasn't waiting that long for it to dry.
I use the deep point blade. Now I did see where someone had a question. Is the deep point blade and the knife blade the same? No, the knife blade is an adaptive tool that is only used for the Maker series. You cannot use it on an Explorer series machine. The deep point blade is actually used in the housing for the deep point blade and the fine point blade are the same. The only difference is the deep point blade is black, just so you kind of know the difference. Similar to the fabric blade. The fabric blade, all it is a fine point blade and a pink housing so that you know to use it only with your pink mats, okay? So I'm just gonna keep drying this a little bit.
I got another question for you. Can you reuse the veneer?
Beautiful question. Look how many times we've reused this veneer. Also, look at the difference between a cut with an old deep point blade and the cut with a new deep point blade.
Yeah, that's saying something.
I mean,
and is one on there not cut through?
One on there is not cut through at all.
No, that was an old deep point
This was the old one.
I didn't keep trying.
This was the old one with one pass, the old one with two passes. We got it to work. It wasn't great. This is the new deep point blade. Look how clean.
2 passes. With more pressure, which is interesting. I thought with that more pressure, you wouldn't need to do it twice, but it's a good thing you checked.
So really and truly, you can cut this off and just reuse this as many times as you want. Is the deep point blade and the knife point blade the same or different angles? It's completely different blade in general. So let me see, stay overhead, Sadie, and I'm just going to, so we can clear the air on this, I'm gonna show you guys the difference between the deep point blade and the knife blade, okay? Because I wanna make sure we're all on the same page here. So this is the knife blade. You can see it is an adaptive tool, and this blade down here is completely different. I don't even know that I can take this out to show you the blade. No, so it's in a fixed housing. So the deep point blade is completely different, or this is the knife blade. Once again, it's an adaptive tool. It has to be used in the Cricut Maker series because it is the only one that you can use this type of housing with. Here is the deep point blade. Whoop. Look at the difference in the blades, number one. Like, completely different. This blade also, it moves on its own. This one uses this top portion to move it back and forth. So number one, is a lot slower. It does cut like thicker materials, but it's like, it moves it, cut, and then the Cricut will pick it back up, move it this way, cut again, pick it back up, move it that way, cut. Do you see what I'm saying? Whereas this one is just a smooth cut all the way through because this blade here rotates and moves on its own like freely.
So April's asking, if you have both, which one would you use?
Oh, deep point. There's no need in using
wood veneer.
For wood veneer, there's no point in using the knife blade. It's a deep point blade all the way.
Claudia said, what Cricut are you using?
We're using the Cricut Explorer 3 today. However, this project can be done on any Explorer or Maker series.
And Nani's asking, how long did it actually take to cut? Not long enough.
Oh.
We didn't time it, but
I mean,
quick.
30 seconds.
Yeah.
Maybe. Like, so if you do 2 passes together, it may have been a minute and a half at most. And that's given a little bit of wiggle room, I feel like. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to attach our name to our tag. We are using DAP glue. If you've been around our channel, you know that we just love DAP glue. I use it for everything. A lot of people say, you know, duct tape will fix anything. I've changed. DAP glue will literally fix anything. If my life is falling apart, just DAP glue it back together.
That's so funny.
One thing I will say about this DAP glue though, try your best not to get it on your fingers. I hate the feel of it on my skin. So
the worst. It's just like super glue. Ugh.
So try your best not to get it on your fingers. As I just got it on my fingers.
No.
It's okay. Use our little pin tool, just kind of hold some pressure. It takes just a few seconds to adhere down, and then it does not move. Once you have done that, all we're gonna do now is grab us some string. We're just gonna cut us a piece off here. Now, what we are going to do, there's a couple different ways that you can tie this. I'm actually going to, let me find some reverse tweezers. Also, there's still wet paint in there. It's okay.
In where?
In the little circle.
Oh,
It's okay. You don't have to use reverse tweezers.
I ended up taping the end of mine.
Oh, you did?
Well, not that part, to get it through the beads.
Okay. Oh, I'm gonna have to use a completely different piece of string. I think I have messed that one up. So you can string it through and loop it around. There's a couple different ways you can do it. You can take it, do a loop here and like knot it off, or if you wanted to, you can string it through this way. Here we go. And then we are going to have to add, you're gonna have to add tape to the end of these. That way that it will fit through the beads. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna grab my masking tape that I just used for taping our wood veneer down. Just gonna get me a little piece here. I'm going to add it to the end, add the string to the end of this, And I'm
Lorraine is asking if you need to buy the deep point housing or if you can use the fine point housing. And you can use the fine point housing. You just need to be sure that you like keep
switch
track
out your
and switch them out and like keep them labeled somehow in a little container or something like that.
Yeah, so if you have an extra fine point housing for some reason.
That's true. You could mark it yourself.
You can mark it yourself.
Paint it.
But you don't have to go out and buy the actual deep point housing.
Yeah.
Okay. So now that you've added your masking tape, I'm just going to bring it to a point. Then I'm just going to string it through our beads.
I love this part.
It just makes it all come together.
Yeah. And I really do think that you could sell this for a lot of money. And you kind of have to price it pretty well because of the time it takes to weed that intricate design.
Yeah. So now I'm just taking my masking tape off, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to tie this, and I'm just going to knot it here. And you can knot it a couple times if you want to. That's going to be a personal preference. Really, you just want it to where the beads aren't going to go back and forth constantly. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then from there, you are done. I would, especially if I'm selling it, I would leave this not tied. That way, whoever purchases it from you can tie it on whatever they want. You're going to leave this unfinished, and then once you're done, you are going to tie it either onto your stocking or you are going to tie it onto a gift.
Yeah.
And look how cute.
Kathy says those are some big beads. They are big beads, but I liked the oversized look. We had all different sizes, and that was...
Yeah, I really do like the oversized look too.
Yeah.
So, what do you guys think? I love them.
There's a lot of stuff on the table right now. Let's go ahead and just get into the supply. So if we can go overhead, I'll show you guys everything you need. Let's just start with the tools you're gonna need today. So I've got a lot of my basic tools. We've got obviously a weeding tool, some scissors, a burnishing tool. These are like core Cricut tools. If you signed up for Makeathon, these are some of the tools that you're gonna be getting in your little Makeathon kit, which we love. I've got a pair of wire cutters, paint brushes, a brayer. You can use a brayer or a burnishing tool. It doesn't matter either way. I just love a brayer, y'all. If you have been using a Cricut and you don't have a brayer, just get one. It's a kid's stocking stuffer. And then I've got a measuring tape. This is some painter's tape. I actually like the terrible painter's tape better than this stuff, but this is what I had on hand. I may actually go grab. You just need some tape that rips and isn't super sticky, like masking tape or something like that. We're gonna use it to line up our stencil. And then I've got the the Star Mask by Starcraft stencil vinyl. This is my favorite stencil vinyl. You do not need to make stencils with permanent vinyl. We might have said that in the past. I'm here to change it. I'm here to influence you. I need you all, if you're doing wood signs, I need you to invest in stencil vinyl, especially if you're doing wood signs. I will get on my soapbox about this. When you use permanent vinyl on wood to make stencils, it pulls up the wood grain on your signs, and that will mess your design up, and it's a pain to get it to look right. This stencil vinyl is so good. I used to use the Orcal 851. I always get the number wrong. That could be wrong. The Orcal stencil vinyl I used for years. It's blue. It worked really good, but I started using this when I started working here, and I was like, I'm sold. I'm sold. I'm using it forever.
And the good thing with the Starcraft, I think it's called Starcraft Star Mask.
Yes, it is.
Stencil vinyl is, especially if you're painting, this is not going to bring up that paint.
Right.
That's the biggest thing, is if you are painting, this will not, like, I don't know, the permanent vinyl to me messes with your sign.
does.
If you have it painted under your sign, or if it's just plain wood, it just
Right, like if you painted a base layer,
Yes.
it'll pull up your base layer. It's just not a good scenario to be in. So the star mask, it is the best, Cassandra. You got it. And then the Caesar transfer, also one of my newest favorite, not newest now, but I've done stencils and signs for years, and I always use Oracal, but I really love Caesar and Starcraft. Like, they're just good. They're just the best.
I used to use contact paper from the Walmart.
A lot of people do.
Yeah.
A lot of people, your transfer tape is not as big of a deal as using stencil vinyl, in my
But
opinion.
it never picked it up correctly, and I was like, what am I doing wrong? And I just didn't know. Like,
Right.
I
You just
didn't-
know what you know.
I didn't watch YouTube videos. I just went by
Right.
what people told me, and I was
Me
just
too.
like, okay.
Me too. That's
Sure.
exactly how we did it too. I feel you. So we're going to give y'all the easy way out. So you don't have to do all that. You don't have to do the trial and error. We've already done it. This is the Starcraft Chalk and Mineral Paint in white. I love this stuff.
Canvas.
Yeah. Do what?
Canvas.
Canvas.
Stencil on canvas.
Oh, yes, yes. But you wouldn't really paint the base of your, oh, yeah, you might.
Yeah, you
might. Okay. Oh my God, I got to get with the program. Sorry. Anyway, so I'm going to be using this white color today, and I'm going to go in a little bit more detail on your paint types and colors here in just a minute. I've got the green color. This is actually color matched to the ribbon that we used yesterday. Technically speaking, Lauren went to 2 different places looking for a color match of this green.
So this was the one that we decided to go with. But what happened was, you can take, just so you all know, if you have a specific color that you want to use in your decor, and this is for anything that you do, this is my tidbit of information. This is my life hack for you guys today.
Yeah.
Find one thing that you're like, that's it. That's the color. I don't care if it's on a t-shirt, if it's on a piece of ribbon, if it's on a canvas that you buy, piece of decor, whatever. If you find your color and that's the exact color you want, take it to your local home improvement store. They can color match. They can put that item underneath something and color match that exact color for you.
Which is cool.
So what happened was, I took the ribbon, but the only problem, because it was velvet, like when you put a shine onto velvet, y'all know you kind of get some kickback with that lighting.
And it's like 2 different shades almost.
Yeah, it gave a little bit of a I don't know, like a back glare, like a glare to it. So I told the guy, I was standing there, I was like, can we add some more black? Maybe a touch of blue. And then it was like, okay, now it needs a little bit more yellow. So we played around with it.
I mean, this is
I had
the
to
color.
tell him, I had to say, like, add 2 more of like black, 1 of red, whatever. So
Listen, it's a beautiful green though. What if it matches or if it doesn't match? It's very pretty. It's just like an evergreen color, and you can match it to whatever your decor is. I've got some small, I'm just going to be using 1 tiny nail out of this, but listen, if you don't have just a little hardware nail kit around your house, you need to get one. This is also a great stocking stuffer that you can add to your wish list, but we're just going to be using a small nail about that size. You don't want it to be too long because our board is not that thick, so be aware of how thick your board is versus how big your nail is. I've got a hammer. And then we got this is technically, I think, a 10-inch wreath. It says 12 by 12 by 2. So like anywhere from 10 to 12 inches on a sign this big. You're going to want to make sure your wreath is proportional to the size of your sign. So if you're doing a much smaller sign, you're going to need a much smaller wreath. If you can't find one that's super small, look in the ornaments, because I feel like they make wreath-shaped ornaments.
They do.
And get creative with your O. Like, it doesn't have to be a wreath.
Nope.
It can, I mean, whatever.
And really and truly, what you could do is you could get the teeny tiny grapevine wreaths that they sell at
Hobby Lobby,
craft stores, whatever. They have just the base of the grapevine wreath. You can get the teeny tiny grapevine wreath and just get literally whatever greenery you want and stick it in that grapevine and hot glue it down to make your own.
Yeah, because we're going to be adding some magnolia and eucalyptus to our wreath today. Not all of this, just some of it. And then obviously you're going to need a mat to cut your vinyl with. And then we have our big sign from Hobby Lobby, and I linked most of this should be linked below. I linked this exact sign below for you all. So I want to say it's like 32 by, gosh, I don't know, 28 by 32 or something like that. So yeah, that's all the supplies that you're gonna need. Let's go ahead and jump into yes. Let's go ahead and measure our sign first. I feel like we need to measure our sign before we go into design space. And I know, let's go to camera 1 so y'all can see what I'm doing. I feel like overhead, you're not gonna be able to tell what I'm doing.
No, you can't.
So I've just got a measuring tape here. I'm just gonna measure inside of my frame. So I'm not measuring from the outside of my frame. I'm measuring inside. So let's see here. Okay, so I'm 28.5 by 22.5. So I'm in design space. I'm gonna pull in just a basic square and we're gonna unlock it up here in the top. And the width is 22.5 and the height is 28.5. So we've got our space to work in. I'm gonna go ahead and change it to white because we're making a white sign. And just so we can kind of get a good visual, I'm gonna add an offset in brown so it looks like we've got our frame around it. We're not gonna be cutting this or anything like that, but just so we can have a good look at what it's gonna look like. Let's see, and then I'm gonna do sharp edges and we will change it to brown. That step is extra, that's an extra step. But this looks exactly like what our frame's gonna look like. So I've already got my letters that we used previously for this, but I want to walk you all through how to get to this point. So the first step is going to be to measure your wood sign, put it in design space the exact size that you need it. And I will say you all aren't going to be able to make a sign much bigger than this unless you're using, because the letters are going to be about 10.5 inches when it's all said and done. And you can only make your letters so big on that 12-inch mat. Unless you're using like a tall, skinny font.
Yeah.
With this Insistence font, which Insistence is the name of the font we're using today. I don't know. It would depend. If y'all have questions, if you do make this project and you've got questions about like sizing, just message us at the Maker's Gonna Learn customer
So pretty
service.
much if you're wanting to make a sign larger than this, you can only make your width of your letters 11.5 or 11.75, I think, width. You can go taller if you stretch it out. Like some fonts look okay when they're stretched, some look terrible. One of the golden rules that me and Alicia like to harp or like to get on our soapbox is don't unlock your images and like don't do it. Sometimes in some instances it's okay. Fonts will, some of them will work, some of them do not.
Rarely will they work.
Rarely will they work, but sometimes they will. But if you want it larger,
right.
What my mic? Oh.
So let's go back overhead and I'm gonna measure my wreath. So it said 12 by 12. I'm gonna get like a general measurement. I'm gonna kind of put it up where it's gonna be. So let me pull this down so y'all can see what the heck I'm doing. So I'm gonna have it up here kind of in the top right corner. And I just need to measure about how big it's gonna be according to where it's placed. So, really, I'm gonna do 11. Even though I'm not measuring from widest to widest point, I'm gonna put an 11-inch circle in design space. So let's go back to design space. This thing doesn't want to go back in. I should be using my Maker's Gonna Learn tape measure. It works just fine.
I know.
So I'm pulling in a basic circle and I'm going to make this an 11-inch circle. So I'm gonna pull this to the right side here. And then what we're gonna do is make sure we've got our font downloaded, which is the font Insistence. That is on the Maker's Gonna Learn website. And I'm just gonna type in our first letter. Let me make it a little bit bigger here, y'all. So this is our first letter. We can go up here and change the font to Insistence. I love this font. This is one of my favorite, like, sans serif fonts. I'm saying sans serif, right? Sometimes I get serif and sans serif mixed up. And what you're gonna do is kind of play around with the sizing until it looks right to you. So I've got the N and the O, no. I'm gonna duplicate this and then go ahead and plug in my other letters. And I want to encourage you all to not use a script font for this specific project. Whenever you're using all scripts in all caps, it doesn't look right. It doesn't, especially in this format where it's like top and bottom. I'll just show you all. I'm just going to show you what this would look like if we did it in a script. Because I just don't, oh, whoa. I just want you all to see. And maybe you like this. I don't know. I think it looks a little off whenever we do this. Do you guys know what I'm saying? Does anyone agree with me? Like
yes.
already, it's looking weird to me. I feel like when you use a script, the letters need to connect. And that's what would make it look pretty. But like the letters don't connect. So you can see here why you wouldn't want to use a script font for this project. Because like, no, that's not it.
Not cute.
That's not it. So make sure you're using like more of a blocky font like this. Insistence would be the best bet, honestly.
Agreed.
And then what we're going to do now, I'm just duplicating these because we already plugged them in. What we're going to do now is make sure that our sizing is as big or as small as we need it to be. And the hardest part of this whole thing is going to be lining them up on our actual board. And I'm going to walk you all through that entire process too. And I'll tell you right now, I'm not a perfectionist, but I tried really hard on this one to make it like as perfect as I possibly can. So this looks pretty good to me. Like I feel like it fills up the sign pretty good, as full as we possibly can make it without it looking like too much. So all we're gonna need to do now is cut everything. So I've pre-cut a couple of the letters, but I wanna walk you all through how to change your settings and all that. So I'm just gonna delete all of this because we don't really need it right now. Mm-hmm. And then I'm gonna go to make it. And I cut two of the letters. Let me see what I cut, the N and the O already. Or no, the N and the E. So let's cut this L. We're going to be cutting it on a 12 by 12 mat on stencil vinyl, so we do not need to mirror it. Select continue, and we're using a maker today. And then we can cut it on regular vinyl setting, but there is a stencil vinyl setting that I like to use sometimes as well. And I just use this basic stencil vinyl and I'll hit done. You don't need to change the pressure, and you're just going to use a fine point blade. So let's go ahead and put our vinyl on our mat. Let me move all this stuff out of the way. Well, okay. So I'm just braying this down. I just cut it to fill up the entire sheet. So I'll cut a piece of 12 by 12 out of the stencil vinyl, and then we're going to go ahead and send this through the Cricut. I'm using a fine point blade. Okay.
Yeah. No.
Oh, okay.
I definitely need that then.
Fancy. Okay, so I've got my stencils right here. So this is really technically a larger than matte stencil wood project. I mean, you could technically call it that. So I've got everything weeded out. Now we're just gonna need to weed out what we want painted on to our sign. So I'm gonna weed out the letter. I'm not gonna weed out what's around the letter. I'm gonna weed out the actual letter. So I'm just taking my weeding tool and very carefully removing the vinyl, just like this. And these letters are pretty big. The reason I did a 12 by 12 piece of vinyl is so that we would have room around our stencil. So when we're painting, we don't actually go over the edge. And you can see right here, this one's pretty close, but since the letter's so big, we've only got so much leeway around the edges.
So Betty did ask, do you have to use stencil vinyl for this, or can you use regular? So we touched about this on the top of the show. This is one, if you are working with paints, stencil vinyl, just especially with like wood signs, if you use permanent vinyl, it tends to pull up your wood grain or pull up your paints.
Yes.
So you can, if you don't have stencil vinyl, but say you wanted to make this project today, you could go ahead and pull your permanent vinyl up with your masking or your transfer tape and stick it to like your shirt or stick it to something if you want to make this now.
Yes.
But we do, we love some Star Mask stencil vinyl. So if you do a lot of stenciling, I like to suggest people, trying it out, get a small sheet first and see if you like it.
Yeah, because I think you can get like a 24-inch strip of just the stencil vinyl on the 143 Vinyl website. And then if you really like it, you can order like a 5-foot roll or even maybe like a 5-yard roll. I don't know, you can get it in bulk. So I'm going to use one piece of transfer tape for every one of these today. So how's that on resourcefulness? Okay, so I'm going to take my transfer tape and I'm going to make it as wide as my stencil. So just trim that up. And then I'm going to go ahead and lay this transfer. Oh, I do that every time, you guys.
What?
I pull it too fast and then it like slices my piece of transfer in half. It's okay. It's still usable. It's still savable. And then we're just going to lay this down like the taco method. The better you apply your transfer to your stencil, the better your stencil will lay on your piece of wood. So we want to lay this as smooth as we possibly can. I'm going to fold it like a taco and lay it down just like this. And then like this. And we're going to take our burnishing tool and burnish this down really well. I was burnishing way too hard.
What'd you do?
I was aggressively burnishing. Okay, so we're just gonna bray it just to be sure. And Sadie's laughing at me. So what we're gonna do next is I'm gonna lay our wreath on here. Now this is where I need you all to like come back to me. Tanner always says this. Okay, whatever you're doing, drop it, come back to me.
Come back.
This is the part where I really want you all to focus because this is where it starts to get a little bit more meticulous. And I'm not a meticulous type of gal, but here I am for y'all, showing up, trying to be as perfect as possible so that you guys can have this beautiful Christmas sign in your house. What we're gonna do, what I like to do, is go ahead, I'm gonna trim all of my letters up so they're somewhat have an even gap between the top and the bottom of the stencil. And this way, whenever I'm kind of laying them out, it's gonna give me a better idea of the spacing, if that makes sense. So you don't want to trim it too close, like I was saying earlier, because it's a stencil. So we need leeway around our letters. So when we apply our paint, it doesn't go off of the stencil and onto our sign. So I'm going to just trim these other ones up just a little bit. I mean, I'll say like an inch around is pretty good. I mean, give yourself as much leeway as you need, really. And then I'm just going to kind of place them where they generally will be. And then we're going to get that measuring tape out and we're going to really try to line this up. Okay. So we've got all of our stuff kind of laid out here. Now, there's a couple different ways to do this. What I'm going to do, we said this was 28.5. What's, Lauren?
What?
Pop quiz. What's
Okay.
half of 28.5?
Well, half of 28 is going to be 14, so it's going to be 14.25.
Okay, so we're going to measure 14.25 from the top of this sign. So we've got 14.25, and y'all, sometimes I be eyeballing this and it's exactly. It's just an accident. Well, it's not exactly today. We've got 14.25 right there. So what I like to do is take my painter's tape and I will cut a piece off and then I'll cut like a bunch of small little pieces off. They don't need to be a certain shape or anything like that. I will literally use this painter's tape as my guideline. So we've got 14.5 right there. I'm just gonna put a piece of tape. That's my halfway mark. And we can do it on both sides. That way we've got some sort of guideline for where the middle is going that direction. Okay, 14.25. And it's gonna be different if you don't use this exact sign. So you're just gonna have to kind of
So you're just measuring, basically what you're doing right now is what your next step would be, is to measure your halfway point on your sign.
Yep.
No matter what it doesn't need to be exactly 14.25. You're measuring halfway point on your sign.
Right. Okay, so what I'm gonna do from here, I'm gonna take my N and butt it up to this, and I'm gonna take my E and butt the top up to it. So about there. And then I'm going to take my L and bump that up to it. Okay, so we've got the spacing right for the most part. What we need to do now is make sure that this one and this one are evenly spaced. This is kind of where it's tricky because we've got this crazy like O over here that's not a stencil. So what we're going to do now is just make sure that these are the same distance from the letter to the edge of the sign. So we're just going to take our, can y'all see what I'm doing right here? Like if I'm measuring, can you see that? Okay. So I'm going to actually take a piece of tape just to keep this in place this way. And then if we need to move it, we can just lift it up a little bit. But let's see. 22.5 is going to be what, 11 1/4?
11 1/4.
So let's trim off a little piece of this. Can y'all see what I'm doing? Okay. So we're going to put this at 11 1/4. And this is why I like the rippable painter's tape so I don't have to cut it. And I can have my hands full. So 11 1/4. Just putting a piece of tape. If y'all didn't know, this is how I do my scroll saw signs, except there's like literally 1,000 pieces of tape everywhere.
Yeah.
It's so stressful. It's my least favorite part of making scroll saw signs. But they look good, so it don't matter. Okay, so this is our halfway mark. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep this L bumped up to here, but I'm going to scoot it to the left a little bit because it looks like my E is closer to the middle than my L. Okay. Now what we can do to check it is see how far our L is from the side.
We should have. It's okay.
This is 1.5 inches. And these letters are kind of hard because they have the curve in them. Like right here, they've got that curve. So like the E, for example, I don't necessarily need to go 1.5 inches from the edge to the corner of that E. I can kind of go from the edge to like in the middle of that curve. And that's at 1.5. So those are about the same distance, really. I mean, what do y'all think? Does it look crooked? Like, can y'all see it? Can you see I don't know what the view looks like overhead.
Well, it's pretty zoomed in right now.
Yeah.
But we can't zoom it out unless we stand on the table.
Here,
I don't think y'all want.
This is what I think we should do. I just want it because right now, whenever you're making a sign and it's laying flat like this, it's really hard to get a good idea of like where everything is at. So I'm just going to kind of put a couple pieces of tape and I'm going to stand it up. I'm going to take that wreath off and stand it up so we can just see. So I'm going to point this to y'all. Lauren, can you see it?
Yes.
Is it pretty straight?
I think so.
I mean, it looks pretty straight to me on the thing.
I think it looks great.
Okay. Okay, so now that my E is the only one that has transfer tape, so I'm going to take off the tape that I used to hold the stencil in place. My E is where I want it, but I want to have pieces of tape all the way around my E so I know where to like sit it back down into. Does that make sense? I'm just going to cut little pieces. I'm going to cut a piece for there. And y'all are probably like, oh my gosh, it's too many pieces of tape. But I promise this is going to give you the nicest line, like alignment. Okay, and I'm going to lift, my transfer tape goes over a little bit. I'm just going to lift it up and put a piece over here so I know how far to keep it from the edge. Okay. All right. This one was holding it down. We'll just scooch him over. So I'm going to have to peel off the backing from my letter now, but I've got my blue tape all the way around my E. So when I take it up, I'm going to know exactly where to sit it back down, and y'all can see that there. So I'm just going to take off this back grid piece. The stencil and the transfer tape need to come off together. And then I'm going to apply this using the taco method. And I'll say the good thing about stencil vinyl is that it's not as sticky as like permanent vinyl. So those of you that have tried using permanent vinyl as a stencil, that it's a lot harder to maneuver around. Like this is sticky, but it's not that sticky. Okay, wasn't breathing.
Okay, breathe. You good. You good.
Okay. I'm going to actually use Zebra. Okay.
Yeah, I think that would work better for this specific.
Yeah, and it gets it down there really good.
Do you have or need the heat gun?
We might have it in here.
I was just gonna go grab it for you while
Yeah,
you were
go
doing
grab
that.
it. That'd be great, actually. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and remove my transfer right here. Okay. Then I'm just gonna go ahead and set this on my L because we're gonna use it again. I'm using the taco method here, sort of. Let's move our wreath out of the way. So we're gonna taco method, and remember, the better your transfer goes down, the better your stencil will lay. You can see here on my E, there's a little bit of a bubble. Try to get out any bubbles around the edge of your stencil. You want to get those out. Okay. Now we've got transfer on our L. I'm gonna take some of these pieces of tape that were around my E and place them around my L now, because we don't really need the ones around our E anymore, because it's already on there. So this way we know exactly where to place it. Make sure, can y'all see what I'm doing? Sadie, you tell me if we can't. Okay. So there's a piece there.
Someone asked, is this stencil vinyl reusable? I don't think so.
No, it's not. It's not reusable. This isn't like the Mylar ones.
Yeah, this is not a, you can, I mean.
This is like our custom sign way to do things. Okay, so we've got all edges of our L. I'm just going to remove the backing from our stencil, just like we just did with the E. And then we're just going to line it back up. Ooh, child. About stuck down. Listen, it'll make you sweat. It'll make you sweat, guys. Okay. So my stencil wasn't on there very good on the top edge of that L, so I'm going to be very careful pulling that off and make sure that the top of my L lays down nicely. Okay, and you can see there's a few bubbles, which we can iron those out a little bit with our finger. Okay, we've got 2 letters on. One more. Got one more to go.
One more.
One mo. I'm going to move the wreath, and I'm going to pull this down so y'all can see what I'm doing. Does anyone have any questions about what we're doing right now? Anybody?
Nope. Not so far.
And I just want to encourage you all, if you are new to sign making or like stencil making for that matter, especially using this type of stencil vinyl, don't give up after the first few tries, because it can be finicky, but when you really learn how to use it, it can be really fun. You know, it's not like, it's a fun craft, I think. I mean, I made a whole business out of it, so my opinion about it is gonna be good, but. So I'm just taking some of the tape from around the L, and I'm gonna make sure that this N is framed in. And we really wanna make sure that we've got a piece over here. Okay, so all of our stencils are down. I went ahead and took the wreath off, so you all can kind of see what the situation is now. We'll worry about getting all this blue tape off here in a minute. The next thing that we need to do is apply a base coat to our stencils. Now, there's debate about this. You can use Mod Podge. That's fine. If you're used to using Mod Podge, to each their own. I prefer a base color that is a similar color to whatever I'm painting. So hypothetically speaking, if this was a wood, like a stained backer, I would use a brown paint similar to the color of stain I was using. But it's white. This is like a whitewash, so I'm going to use a white paint, any white paint that's similar to the color of the base of your sign. That's what you want to use. That's our first coat. So I'm going to go ahead and open this, And we're just going to do like a good thin layer on top of each of the letters, making sure not to go outside of our stencil.
This is the key to get those crispy lines.
This is the ticket.
The ticket. So this is the hack, the true hack for today.
And I'll say this, it needs to be flat or chalk paint.
Yep. Pull that down just a little bit.
Okay. The reason that...
If you can. There you go.
The reason that I say flat, matte, or chalk paint is because if you all use a glossy or satin paint, those paints have latex in them, and the latex causes the paint to stretch. So whenever you peel off your stencil, it will peel off your paint. So like the paint will stick to your vinyl stencil, and then it'll ruin your project, which is really annoying. Especially after like we've done all this work. Imagine like if I peeled it off and the paint came with it. And sometimes it doesn't do that, but a lot of times it does. Like I would honestly say like 85 to 90% of the time, if I use a latex paint, it messes up. So this white, we really want to focus on going over all of the edges of our stencil. It's basically sealing in the divots in the wood so that whenever we go to apply the green can't seep underneath our stencil.
So if you all can see it in the overhead, you can see where the wood has the graining. Like she was saying, this is just prevents that green from spreading.
Yeah. So if we just went in with the green willy-nilly, it's very likely that our paint would seep under our stencil, and then it just would not look ideal. It would be like runny. You would have to go back and fix a lot. This pretty much, I won't say 100% works, but like 99%. I mean, it looks good. The one I did for Courtney and Tanner's house, I did not have to touch up at all. Like, it was good after the first time. So just make sure you're really focusing on those edges. Make sure everything's a good thin coat. And then we're going to move to the next letter. Okay. And we're using the StarCraft chalk and mineral paint for this white, but you can use any flat, matte, or chalk white paint, or whatever color your base is. Okay, so now we just need to let this air dry or hit it with the heat gun, and I'm going to use the heat gun to just speed up the process. Okay.
But really and truly, like this chalk paint, any matte or chalk paint dries like extremely fast.
Yes.
So
Jacqueline says, my base color is a red satin finish. How can I use this method successfully? So there's a couple ways that you can do it. You can make sure that you use stencil vinyl on top of a satin finish, like the StarCraft stencil vinyl. You can spray, there's a Krylon matte clear finish spray, and it like mattifies your paint. You can buy it at Lowe's and Home Depot, and it's amazing. It looks so good. And then do the stencil on top of that. Those would be my two recommendations, I think, for if you have a satin base already. I would mattify your base, or yeah, I think that would probably be the best bet, really. Okay, we'll let that L sit and dry while I paint the other ones. Okay, so we're going to need to do a couple coats of this green paint on here. So I'm going to go ahead and start because we're like on the hour right now, which I knew this would take forever. I really, really like to paint in the same direction. It makes it look super smooth and consistent. So if you're painting in horizontal brush strokes, you want to do that throughout the whole project. And make sure that you're not getting too much paint on your brush. Otherwise, whenever you're flicking it back and forth, you're going to be more likely to like flick paint onto your base, and we don't want to do that.
painting in the same direction is a lot like coloring in the same direction. Like if you are coloring or, anything like that, it's like when your strokes go vertical and then turn horizontal, like
you can see it.
You can see it.
Right.
So same thing with your brush strokes when you're painting. If you're painting horizontal, you need to try your best to stay horizontal and not go horizontal and then vertical.
Yeah, precisely. Okay, I need wire cutters. I've got my little wreath right here, and I've got some eucalyptus and some magnolias.
You want to pass me that sign over here? Or is it good where it's
Oh,
at?
it's fine.
Okay.
It's fine. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to add it. I don't know why I even snipped that off because I can just add these in. And really, I should hot glue these, but y'all get the gist, right? I'm just going to put these in here. You could just put a little bit of hot glue on there so that they stay on really well.
This is one suggestion that I have for this. So this is could be a sign that you could use over and over, like each year, even when your decor changes.
Yes.
So my suggestion with adding this greenery, we're doing eucalyptus and magnolia because that's the theme that Courtney and Tanner had going for their house this year. Is we added in with the evergreen, we added in eucalyptus and magnolia.
Right.
So I would just add the smallest amount of hot glue, and tomorrow when you see the video of the actual sign, that wreath is a sign that I think Courtney said that she's used for like 3 or 4 Christmases now, and we just keep adding the smallest bit of hot glue just to keep that greenery or whatever you're adding in there just enough to keep it in there. And then like this year we took it all out, all that, because we had red berries in it last year.
Yeah.
So we took all of the red berries out and just added in the different greenery. So you can reuse a wreath. So keep that in mind.
Yeah.
It can be reused, and we do reuse a lot of things around here.
So this is like the finished wreath. You can add in more or less or whatever. Y'all just add in whatever your heart desires.
Do it with your heart.
Do it with your heart. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and peel off my stencil vinyl. I'm gonna move all this out of the way. Some people, a lot of
Throw that
people
greenery in the floor for right now.
do what?
Throw that greenery in the floor for right now, the extra, just to get out of your way.
A lot of people will be like, do we need to dry it first? No, you don't have to. Actually, I prefer it to be a little bit wet whenever I peel it off. So I'm just going to take my weeding tool and I'm going to pull this off. And this is where the magic happens, everybody. And if you are pulling this off and you're pulling it off while it's still wet, make sure that you're very careful that your stencil vinyl does not go back to touch the base of your sign. You're going to be getting paint in places you don't want it. Okay, there's our first one. Okay, scooch this up. Oops. Okay. I scraped my E a little bit.
So crispy.
It's so crispy. Okay. And sometimes the stencil vinyl will tear, and that is okay. The E I was a little bit less, or a little bit more careless with, and so there's like a couple spots that I'm going to have to touch up. I don't know if y'all can see it. You can probably see that one.
Yeah, but it's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. Okay, and you can see right here, my L had a bubble in it earlier, and y'all watched me flatten it out. But it's because I did not transfer this on the best. That top edge did not transfer on the best. So you can see how important it is to make sure that your edges are, or that your transfer tape is on there smoothly and that you apply it really flat. And then that's it. Let's run the heat gun on this, and then we're gonna.
Oh, I see that now, that bubble.
Yes, this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna dry this top of this L and the side of this N because we're gonna add in a nail for our wreath. And we can peel off all of our little blue tapes. So key ideas here. Make sure you're painting a base color of the color that your base is painted.
Yes.
And then we want to make sure we're using matte flat paint. And those are like the main things. Those are like the 2 main ticket items. Okay, let's add a hammer, or let's add a nail in. Let me grab the hammer. This is gonna be loud. Should we do it?
It's okay.
What I'm gonna do is put our wreath on here to make sure it's exactly where, I'm hoping these leaves don't fall out. I should have glued them, but I forgot to turn the hot glue gun on.
It's all good.
Is that in a good spot?
I don't know that it's, I can't see it.
Sadie, can you see it? Good?
I think it's good. Looks
Okay.
good from over here.
I'm gonna just put a little
Little nail guy.
I don't know if y'all can see that, but I can. And then I'm just gonna nail this in here. Remember, you don't want anything too long.
This is where you're gonna... You definitely want to be careful.
This board is like flimsy, so it doesn't want to go in.
Really and truly, you could
use a command hook.
A command hook or a thumbtack, couldn't you?
Yeah, probably, but I don't think we have a thumbtack. That's not in enough. I just already know.
Oh, that makes me so nervous watching it from over here.
Okay. That may not hold. Okay. Use a command hook if you need to.
I would for sure suggest a command hook.
Okay, that's it. An hour and 10 minutes later. Actually, that was pretty fast considering we made an entire sign.
It is.
So that
very
just
fast
shows
for
you
an
how
entire sign.
how fast y'all can make this in. So
Yeah.
All right, that's it. That's it.
I love it.
Okay, cool, fun.
We have people saying that. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Makers Gonna Learn YouTube channel. My name is Lauren and I am a craft producer here at Makers Gonna Learn. In today's video, we are going to be teaching you all about how to etch on glass, but not only that, I'm going to show you how to add color to your etched glass so that you have a really beautiful effect. If you are new to our channel, make sure that you like this video, subscribe, and hit that bell notification so that you can be notified every time we come to you with a great craft. Now we're just gonna hop overhead and I'm gonna show you all the materials that you're gonna need to get started with this amazing craft. Now that we're overhead, you can see that the supplies for this craft are pretty minimal and maybe things that you just have laying around. The main component for this is going to be your armor etch. You're going to have armor etch or some type of etching cream to etch on your glass. Now, there are other types of etching cream. We just really like armor etch. This is our favorite, so this is the one that we recommend using. Obviously, you're gonna need your blank. We actually got this from the Dollar Tree. You can find some really great blanks for glass etching at the Dollar Tree. The other one we had came from Hobby Lobby before we found this one at Dollar Tree. So I would definitely check out your local Dollar Tree first. If you haven't etched on glass, to try your etching on glass first before you buy something more expensive. For the color that we're gonna be adding, we're gonna be using Rub and Buff. Now, one thing I wanna say is we tried multiple different ways to add color to your glass, and hands down, Rub and Buff was our favorite. We tried different brands of the same like wax metallic finish that did not really go on as smooth as the Rub and Buff, so I highly suggest using Rub and Buff to add color. Now, you don't have to use gold. They have Rub and Buff in multiple colors. We're just using gold for this specific craft. Next, you are going to need gloves. This is to keep yourself safe. Obviously, armor etch is a chemical, so you will need to wear protective gloves. We have a paintbrush to put the etching cream on with. And for our stencil, we're just using scrap vinyl. This is not something that you have to have special stencil vinyl for. Just use scrap pieces of your permanent vinyl that you have laying around so that you are not wasting anything. And finally, you are going to need a measuring tape. Now, this is going to come in very handy when it comes to measuring the surface that you are going to be working on. So this is very important that you have some type of measuring tape or tool to measure with. Now that we've gone over all of our materials, we're gonna hop over into Design Space and I'm going to show you how you can take a file from Makers Gonna Learn, upload it into Cricut Design Space, and cut it as a stencil for this project. Now that we're here, before we jump into Design Space, we're actually gonna start on our website. If you are new to Makers Gonna Learn or to our channel, what we are a membership-based crafting community where we bring you inspiration, education, and motivation to get that Cricut and use it to its full potential. So we're gonna start in our cut file section. Now, we actually release thousands of cut files every month new, so we have a very extensive library for you to check out. We're actually going to be making a little Christmas themed glass etching project, so I know what file I'm going to use. So I'm just gonna type that in. If you don't know, you can really go through and view all of our files. We have them separated out in different sections, but all I'm going to do, I'm going to type in, "Oh, come let us," and that should bring up the file that we're going to be using today. Now that I found the file that I'm going to use, I'm going to click on it. Now you don't have to open it up, but if you want to really see all of the details, you can. So how to download this file? We're going to go here to the cloud icon that has the arrow pointing down. We're going to click that. It's going to download as a zip file. We are going to open it up. Now we're going to go over to Cricut Design Space. We are going to upload, and then we're going to click upload image. From here, you can drag and drop if you would like to. If not, you can go to browse, and then I'm just gonna go to downloads, and it will pop up with the most recent downloads you have, and I want this as an SVG. Now the difference between an SVG and a PNG is the picture graphic, so it's going to be more like your print and cut image. An SVG is a vector graphic, so we want to open that up because that's going to be your cut graphic. We are going to click upload, and then from there I'm going to add this to my canvas. Now we're not really going to be doing a lot of slicing, welding, really manipulating this file. I like it as it is. So now what I want to do, we're going to go overhead, and I want to take my blank or whatever area that I'm working on, and I want to measure to see how wide and how tall we can have this file. So we're looking at closer to about 3 1/4, maybe even 3 inches by about 4 is how tall this is. So we're going to come back over here to Design Space, and I really want to make sure this width stays correct. So we're going to make sure that our image is locked. Some images upload automatically locked, some of them upload and they are unlocked. So if you leave it unlocked and you type in your width, then it's going to really mess up. It's going to really mess up this file. So make sure that that stays locked. And then I'm going to do 3 inches on the width and then enter, and it will automatically size this to where we need it. Now, from there, if you look at your layers panel over here, you can see, we'll zoom in. You can see that this SVG is 2 different colors. So we have a little green color and we have this tan color. If you were to go to make it right now, because these are 2 separate colors, this is recognizing it as 2 separate layers. So it's going to cut on 2 different mats. What you need to do is select both of these layers and go ahead and weld them together. That way it cuts it all as one piece. So I'm going to click weld, and as you can see, it all changes to the same color, and that's when you know that it will all cut on the same mat. Once we have that done, we're going to go over here to make it, continue. We are going to select the device that we will be using today, and then we're just going to cut this on premium vinyl removable mat. From there, we're going to load our mat into our Cricut. Once that's finished, we're going to unload our mat, and then we are going to start the weeding process. Now, when weeding, when you are doing a stencil, you are going to want to weed the part that we normally keep with vinyl. So you're going to weed the letters out. And you may want to be careful when weeding because there are some smaller pieces in this design that we do not want to miss. Now that we have all that weeded, I'm just going to cut out this area here. And then I'm going to take some transfer tape and I'm going to place it on top of our vinyl. And I'm just going to burnish it down. Yes, I'm burnishing it down with a bone folder, but hey, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. I'm going to rub my glass down with alcohol so that I make sure that this adhesive sticks very well so that we get a good crisp line with our stencil. And now we're going to add our design to our glass. You do want to make sure you get all of the bubbles out and make sure those edges are down very, very well. And then we're going to take our transfer tape off. Now what you may want to do is you may want to come back in these smaller pieces, kind of move them around because they can move around, and just make sure you press them down really firm onto your glass so that you have a good nice seal on that. And then we are going to start the etching process. So first thing you need to do before you start etching is you need to put your gloves on, because safe crafting is the best crafting. Now we're going to take our armor etch and our paintbrush, and what we're going to do is we're going to paint the armor etch onto our stencil. Now if you are not comfortable, if you're afraid that your armor etch is going to get off of your stencil, you can tape all of this off around it. That way you know for sure the armor etch is not going to get on it. That's going to be a personal preference, whatever you feel more comfortable in doing. I personally think that taking your brush and moving this armor etch around and continuing to paint it kind of all over really helps get down in those grooves that you might miss. I like to have a pretty thick coating, so I'm actually going to come back in here and add just a little more over top. I know that this is covered, but I also like to just make sure it's covered very, very well. I would probably move it around with my paintbrush for at least 1 or 2 minutes, just making sure it gets in there in the grooves and moving it around. Even if you have to kind of push it in there, that works as well too. And now we are going to start our timer. Now the bottle directions say to leave it for 1 to 3 minutes, but I think 5 minutes works best. So now I'm going to start my timer for 5 minutes and we will be right back. Now that our timer has gone off, what we're going to do is we're going to take our paintbrush and we're just going to take this excess armor etch and we're actually going to put it back in the bottle because you can reuse this multiple times. So we're just going to very easily take this and kind of just put it back in this bottle. And now I'm going to take this to the sink and I'm going to wash the rest off. Now make sure you do leave your gloves on for this so that you don't get any of this on your hands. So leave your gloves on, take it to the sink, and we're going to wash this off and we will be right back. Now one little trick that I like to do before I actually take my stencil off to make sure that all of the pieces that I want etched are etched is I like to take my project and I like to hold it up to the light, and then you can see what places etched very well and what places did not. Now you do have to make sure that it's very dry because otherwise it's going to look like it has not been etched. So by holding this up to the light, I feel like it looks pretty good. So we're going to go ahead and take this stencil off. Now, as you can see, this is great as is. However, if you want to add a little color, I've saved one of my gloves and I'm going to show you how to do that with Rub and Buff. Now, before we get started with the Rub and Buff, there's one thing that I do want to say. I only suggest doing this on something that you plan on not washing. And here is why. I tested this on, adding color, I tested screen print ink, I tested the Rub and Buff, I tested 2 or 3 different types of this, the paint and everything. But when it was on something that I planned on using and washing on the outside of, let's say, like a wine glass or something, every time I went to wash it, they would all come off. So I would only suggest using this on a decorative piece. So please keep that in mind. We are just using this on a decorative piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Rub and Buff and I'm going to put a little bit of it on my finger, and I'm going to have a paper towel ready, and you're just going to come in here and you're going to work this in these edges. Now this dries pretty fast, so I would come in here and wipe this fairly quick, and then you're just going to keep working this around until you have all of the etched area covered with Rub and Buff. And then we're actually going to come in and do one other layer as well. We're going to start down here in the corner where we missed it a little bit the first time. I will also say this. I did try doing this with the stencil still on as well, thinking, oh, that would be perfect. I won't have to wipe any of it away. The Rub and Buff actually just ended up building up around the stencil, and it just looked really gunky. So this was the best method that I found. And there you have it. You have a beautiful custom shelf sitting piece that's going to be beautiful for the holiday season. Now I'm just going to add in some little details inside. And there you go. I really hope you have enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope you have learned all that you need to know about etching on glass and adding color to your etching design. Once again, if you are new to our channel, make sure you like this video, hit that bell notification, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any crafts that we bring you. If you are wanting to learn more or join our community, make sure you check us out at makersgonnalearn.com, where we always bring you the inspiration, education, and motivation to get crafting with your Cricut. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.
Today is my favorite.
Is it?
I think so.
Okay. I love the concept of this.
The concept's my favorite.
Yes.
Like the crafting wise, I mean, I love it all. Like,
yes.
Don't make me pick.
This is the easiest craft, I would say.
But I would say this is the biggest impact.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So what typically happens is we try to put iron on the stocking and truly make it Alicia's stocking, Tanner's stocking.
Like writing Alicia on the stocking.
Yeah. So what we did was we are able to incorporate we're using Hobby Lobby stockings, and we're using ribbon from the Dollar Tree.
The Dollar Tree.
We love the Dollar Tree here.
We do.
We're using that ribbon, and we're going to put iron on the ribbon. It's going to be so good, guys. Like, you're not going to believe it. We're using foil. We're using a Maker's Gonna Learn font. We are at the we can go overhead and talk about our supplies here. I'm trading out some tools.
Yes, got to use that MGO weeding tool.
You're going to love that one. So, anywho, here's what you need today. So, you need a Cricut mat. This is, how many of you have used foil HTV?
Listen, I accidentally stumbled upon that brand of foil HTV.
Who makes it?
I've linked it in the description.
Thank you.
It is a random Amazon people.
Find.
I'm going to order some more from them, even just their regular vinyl, because I'm very curious to how well it is, because that stuff will weed better than anything I have
No
ever
way.
made.
It's very thick.
It's so good.
Like, I love the feel of it.
I know. It feels different.
It feels different.
Does.
It's weightier. Yes.
So like what I mean by weightier, it's heavier. So yeah, so
It
this
feels
is
good quality.
You're gonna love it. So you put it on the mat. Let me just show y'all. So anytime you use HTV, put it on the mat like so. Super easy. Super easy. Now this is when you grab this tool and you just burnish down. So if you're grabbing a membership today, this is why you're getting it. Because look, now everything's adhered down. You'll cut better. You'll also need a weeding tool. We used a burnishing tool. I'll use a X-Acto craft knife, but I'll show you when to use it here in a little bit. And then listen, we have these two items. We have ribbon, and this is from the Dollar Tree, $3.
If you didn't say that, I wouldn't know. If you didn't say that's from the Dollar Tree, I would not know it's from the Dollar Tree.
Guys, velvet ribbon. Who are we?
Dollar Tree is really stepping it
Ooh,
up.
I love
like
Dollar
stepping
Tree.
it up.
They're killing it. Now, what you're also going to want to do is, you know, you can look on there and it'll tell you the measurement. So you just look on here and we have 2 inches. So this is 2 inches. Now, if you don't know the measurement, Alicia, we have a tape measure to help you. So you could just measure that when you grab your Make-a-thon ticket. So 2 inches, boom. So anyway, now we'll know and we'll be able to set this up in Design Space. You could do red, you could do green. This one's like intense. This one's thick. Where did we get this one? Do you know?
That one's from Amazon. It is also linked below for you all.
Okay, so you can go to Dollar Tree and get the one we're using today, or you can get the bougie one from Amazon, which so either way, like
that's like a raw, they call it like a raw edge ribbon.
I love
And so
that.
it doesn't have like a clean edge, which gives that like boho natural vibe more. But if you like more of the clean cut classic Christmas, I think that Dollar Tree ribbon is gonna be your
either
best
way,
bet.
you'll love it and it's gonna be awesome. But what you're gonna notice here is that the supplies are very minimal. So mini easy press, ribbon, foil, HTV.
That's literally
That's
it.
your 3.
Like we're already a third of the way done because you put the HTV on the mat.
Yeah, I know. So let's head over to the computer because we're on the beautiful, the amazing makersgonnalearn.com. And I mean, guys, this platform is unlike anything else.
It's
My
the best.
passion for this platform like has increased tenfold because before I was like, oh, I'm an entrepreneur. Like I teach thousands of people to craft and I would be so embarrassed to show people our website because it just didn't meet my standards.
It wasn't measuring up.
Yeah, but we've worked on this website for a year.
Right.
So to have this platform here, I've sent the link to so many of my colleagues. I'm like, look, this is what I
look
do.
at it.
I was like, this is what we do. This is how amazing our customers are. Like you can see them and you can, see all the stuff that we get to do. So when you join the platform, you're getting thousands of cut files, 1,000 fonts, and so much more. So we're using the Demonstrate font. And today, you have automatically get to see what crafting quick, beautiful projects with Zill makes my heart very excited. That uses every letter of the alphabet.
We love that. Lauren came up with that.
Go Lauren. I mean, it's so cool. But this is the font we'll use. If you don't want to utilize this, you could utilize, hello. Test out hello.
This is one like my favorite feature of the new website is the font preview.
Alicia, you don't have to download the font. You don't. Let's just talk about this. We know we're going to download Demonstrate, so you could just download it, and we'll talk about that later. But let's just give the font area, now that I have Tanner, it followed me to this area. I can be like, okay, Tanner.
Even in grid view, this is
Tanner.
good stuff.
So you have list view or grid view.
I love grid view personally.
Oh, this makes it feel like a real app.
Yeah, because then you've got 2 right beside each other. You can scroll through them all.
My favorite is the view all button.
Yes.
View all, please.
Love it.
Please let me view all. So then after you go to view all, it will take a little bit when you view all if you have a lot of something in a category, but it already loaded. So I can literally, guys, I can literally scroll for hours and hours and see mudslide is so good for a party. Puppy love. Puppy love. Come on, y'all. We need some puppy love. In love.
There's a cow print font that's so cute that we have. I haven't got the chance to use it yet, but I want to. Little Lovey is one of my favorite
Look at how
new
fast
fonts.
and reactive this website is. There is no lag.
Also, look at how many fonts.
I know. Look at this little bar on the side. Guys, if there is an argument that you could get fonts for free. Okay, just because there's free fonts out there doesn't mean you want them.
Right.
And I really want to let you know, we work very hard on having the best fonts. So
And they're
it
like
is so much fun.
hand-picked. It's like a curated font selection, in my opinion.
Stephanie, my day job is a web designer, and in my professional opinion, I think the new website is great. Stephanie, thank you so much.
Oh, we love that.
Thank you. That made my day. You're amazing. So I just want to encourage you all. Go look at the fonts.
Yep.
When you join, you're getting the cut files too.
Steffi
So-
said that it's always hard for her to find the right font. And listen, fonts are like one of my favorite things. We did a whole video of it on Maker U, talking about
Yes.
font pairing, which is really fun.
That is awesome. So under cut files, you're going to see so many, but as you can see, there's so many pages. So I do view all, especially for Christmas. Print and cut is also another one to look at view all. Holy cow. Makers, great. I mean, there's all sorts of categories. Take full advantage. Go to your new dashboard as well. So we're just going to head over to Design Space. You can click on the text, and we're just going to type in, whose name should we use, Alicia?
Let's do, so much pressure. Sadie.
Sadie. Beautiful. Sadie.
Sado.
Thank you. Thank you, Sadie, for being here. I almost misspelled your name. But yes, so we're going to just go to fonts. And when you use a Maker's Gonna Learn font, if you've never downloaded a font before, let's go over to Finder, and you'll see the zip files right here. So just double click, and then you can see the demonstrate file. So that's so much fun. And then we are just going to click on this file, and we're just going to click install. So now that it's installed, you can see demonstrate is right here. Then look, I'm going to have to reload my Design Space. So let's go over here to view, and let's do a reload or force reload, whichever. Pretty much the same thing.
I reload, Lauren force reloads, and it literally does the same exact thing.
That's so funny. We'll do a force reload just to demonstrate. And it's so much fun. So now that you have force reloaded, I didn't save my project. So you got to make sure you save that project. But
Rookie mistake.
Rookie mistake. So fun. Look at that. We fixed it. Under font, we'll go to system. We're just going to type in demo.
Demo.
We have demonstrate and demonstration and demonstrate. Love it. So what we're going to do, we're at 2 inches. We are going to now scale this down a little bit because remember we're using 2-inch ribbon. So I'm just going to scale this down to like 1.86. Like that's pretty good because look, you can see our font for some reason is giving us a white dot or like in the middle of the D, which is not correct. One thing to note is that the new Design Space likes to manually kern your fonts, which can sometimes be a blessing and be a curse.
Yes.
So today, what do I want to do about it? First of all, we could probably go to Combined and unite this, and it fixed it.
Love that.
So that was really easy. So look, let's just undo that real quick. So you can see there's a white arrow area, and what could happen here in cases like this, the letters will manually kern it. So it's the software is trying to kern the letters for you. In this case, there's no manual kerning necessary. It looks beautiful, but that white area is concerning. So we just want to go under Combine, and we're going to use Unite. Now, if you're new here, you can be confused about Weld and Unite. I believe eventually they will eliminate Weld, but it would just be too confusing to take away today.
Right. They're trying to move into more of the technical features without taking away the simpler features.
Exactly. So we'll just click Unite. And then look, that's beautiful. I mean, literally guys, we're gonna press make it. We're going to move it down a little. We're gonna mirror this because this is, really, simple. Now, I do say, Lauren, this is really small.
Do you mean Alicia?
Sorry, Lauren. Oh my gosh. I did it again.
You're fired.
I was so focused. I'm so focused. That is so funny. Why I was freaking out and calling you the wrong name was because I realized I was looking at the wrong dimensions.
Oh, well, listen, I cannot read whatever the dimensions are from over
You're
here.
good. So
That's too
guys,
far for me.
I picked the width at 1.85. Let's make sure our height is 1.85. 1.85. Press enter, and then look. Now it's not. I'm not so blind.
And I'll say also with this particular font, the first capital letter can be huge.
Yes.
And so if you need to shrink that first letter down, you can do that.
Let's give them that example real quick. So that's a good one. Good point. So if we had like, let's do Donnie with a capital D, and then look at this. So she's saying, look, this is not proportional.
Right.
So if you've ever wanted to manipulate this, guess what we would do? We would select this, and we would click ungroup, and then we select that capital D, and you just scale it down, and then look what happens. We get to bring this here, and then look, go select all of this. We will group it back together, and then you would pick how wide you wanted it. So, you know, for our case, it could be 1.86, but what you'll notice now is that these smaller letters actually got bigger.
Right.
Which I love that. That is
Yes.
such a great hack. All right, we're going to move back over to work on Sadie. Now this name, you have the capital S, then you have the D, so it kind of balances out, so it's all solid. So now that it's united, press make, and this is when I was calling Alicia the wrong name because I was realizing that I had made a mistake, which was not fun, but we corrected and got some additional training. Love that tip.
Yeah.
We will mirror this right here. We will press continue. Working with the swoosh font today. Oh,
yes.
I love that. So, Alicia, is there any difference in our setting today with this material?
When I use that vinyl, I do not use a different setting.
Love it.
I normally just use everyday iron-on.
You use everyday iron-on. You don't use the foil iron-on setting?
Nope.
Now I'm in a predicament.
Do you. Do what you like. Do what you would
But you
do.
said this is new material. I've only used Cricut HTV or Cricut foil. The Cricut foil on HTV is cut on the foil iron-on setting.
I use the regular iron-on setting.
And you said it cut beautiful?
Yes, and I have cut that a bunch.
Everyday iron-on it is. We have
Now I'm
mirrored
like,
it.
I hope it works. It will work.
We've mirrored it. And remember, guys, at the top of the show, the top of the crafting, we already added this to our mat. So we're going to load this in. And I'm going to give y'all another tip because I know there's some new Cricketers here. And I just want to be mindful of everybody. So what I like to do sometimes is open up clamp B. And before I do a cut like this, make sure my blade's nice and sharp. And I just like to make sure there's no debris. I just take my finger and make sure there's no debris.
Oh, yeah, me too.
You can use aluminum foil, you can use whatever you want, and you close that, and then what we'll do here is we will just press the flashing Cricut button. Now today we're using a Cricut Maker. You can use the Explorers, the Makers, whatever you want, and it's super, super, super fun, super fun. So we're just gonna cut through this.
Love it.
Listen, let us know what you're working on today.
I hope that this cuts really well because it weeds so good. It weeds like butter.
Well, you want to know the secret? It has to cut to be able to weed.
I know. Well, I'm telling y'all, I use everyday iron-on normally, and it weeds like a dream. We did the Summit project, the little wine glass, wooden wine glass toppers.
Love that.
And I mean, the name was like this big, and I literally like this skinny, and it weeded so good.
Well, Sadie's in the room, so I mean, it will cut well for Sadie.
Yeah, Sadie has the juju.
Yeah, the Cricut can't embarrass Sadie.
No, that's rude. So.
Yeah. What I want to note is that this is really thick. Like I cut through it, I use the same pressure as I would normally, and it was like, I had to give some extra pressure. So this is some thick stuff. We've linked this, just know foil iron-on, this that we've linked is thicker, it's new, it's fresh, we love it. So I'm preheating to level 2, and then we will just weed with this new Makers Learn tool. And everyone that's grabbed
What?
that weeded beautifully.
Did it weed?
I love it.
I can't see what you're doing over here.
I love it.
In just one swipe, one pass?
Yeah, it's so,
It feels good, doesn't
The
it?
transfer tape's thicker than normal.
I know. It's just goodness.
It's awesome. The Maker's Garden weeding tool is like literally so good.
Listen,
So,
and we're picky about HTV. Now, I don't really go off of like Easy Weed. Easy Weed's my fave, but this is really good too. I really like for foil.
different.
I really love this.
Yeah, it's very different. So look, now we have this beautiful Sadie. Sadie, do you see this? It looks so good. Oh my gosh. And I love this font.
cute.
It's thick. It's thicker than I thought, which
It does look thicker than I thought too.
I like it.
Yeah, me
So
too.
now you get to just pull out your ribbon and you can say, you know, do I want to, you know, just stick it right here. Whew, I'm glad I made this not any bigger.
It's
Whew,
close.
I almost made it like a little bigger, but there we go.
Does it fit?
It fits. If it fits, it
it
ships.
We're just saying that on Monday.
And then look, we can just do this. I would use an Easy Press mat. My team is starting to think that we don't use Easy
No,
Press
I have
mats.
never used them, and I need to be using them more often. Is the
my
problem? I'm so bad about not using them.
That's so funny.
Lindsay's asking, and I saw your question, Lindsay.
Hey,
I just haven't got to
Lindsay,
it.
throw
What
it
color
out.
ribbon do we recommend for white stockings with a little bit of gold?
This green.
Green would be gorgeous.
Green would be gorgeous.
Green would be gorgeous. It would match your tree, even if you don't have green
Yeah.
as your accent color. Like a true forest green, like we're using today, would
Yeah.
look perfect.
But I will say, look at Pinterest and find your style.
yeah, like
Find your color palette.
Yes.
How many colors can be in a theme?
there's no rules for that.
Oh, okay, cool.
The limit doesn't exist.
Okay, if I got Courtney on here, she'd be like, honey, you're limited to like 3.
Green,
Yes.
tan, white.
Yeah, literally, that's her 3.
And which looks amazing. That looks
Yeah.
really, really good.
Yeah.
If you're me, right now I've got classic Christmas, so I have like red,
Come over to
white,
your
and
house.
green.
Courtney doesn't like traditional Christmas. So when you
I
all
know.
see our Christmas, you all may, we were worried about if our viewers would like it because oh my gosh.
And like
This is
comes
beautiful.
off so good. I know. It's amazing.
Wow.
And it feels so good quality.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all can do this when you if you watch our bow making video, you can do this on the tails of your ribbons as like who it's to and who it's from.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
and it would look so
This
so
is
good.
awesome. And then you can, you know, this part, I like to give a little bit extra because you've got to connect it to your stocking and whatnot, and you'll see at the tour. So you would just, you know, cut this and things like that. You can do, let me just cut a better straight line and we'll talk about what you could do. So I believe on our stocking, or let me just show you this. So if you want to do this part, which is really easy, y'all, this is super
The
simple.
dovetail.
The dovetail's iconic. Let me see if I can do a dovetail down here. I just need to cut this straight real fast.
We're using the demonstrate font. I've seen a lot of people
Oh my
asking,
gosh.
and
It's
normally
linked
if
down
you
below.
all can't find a font, we link it below typically, unless we just like
Yes.
randomly pick a font in the
show.
middle of our show.
Yeah, yeah. So, Alicia, just walk me through this. Sometimes I accidentally fold it the wrong way.
Okay,
and
let's
I do
talk
a
about it.
reverse dovetail.
So you can never do it wrong if you always cut up towards the folded side.
So up towards the folded side.
Mm-hmm.
So up. So I would cut up. Or
Oh, you got it folded. Okay, I see
Yeah.
what you're saying. I see what you're
see,
saying.
this is what I always think when I do the dovetail, and it really trips me up at times. So you're saying up towards the folded side or up towards the folded side?
I would have my ribbon flip more this way. So you're gonna want to cut down towards the folded side where you're at right now. Don't move it now. You need to cut up towards.
Oh, I like to give Alicia a hard time. Okay, so this is hard, and I wish we could think of something to remember. but
Normally,
this
that's
is-
what I say. So I normally hold it how you're holding it, and you would cut it up towards the folded side.
Look at this. Look at this. And this is how you're going to get your dovetail. And these new Maker's Learn scissors
Crispy,
are beautiful.
sharp.
Did I just reverse it?
I don't know.
I did.
I can't
I just
see what you're
reversed
doing.
it. Alicia. Oh, wait.
Before you opened it, you're holding it, and you're like, "Did I do it wrong? Did you
So
cut it
look-
up towards the folded edge?"
I did.
But that's cute.
This is adorable. So this is one
a
way.
reverse dovetail.
Reverse dovetail is this, and I think personally, this just happens to me. Anytime I want to do a dovetail, it ends up being the wrong way.
Do you want me to cut one and show you?
Well, I am going to try a different method.
Okay.
So I folded my ribbon. I think it means I folded mine in, which was bad. I think we need to fold it out so that I'm cutting off the proper side of the ribbon. So I was folding it reverse. That's what happened. So you need to have your main part of the ribbon exposed and then cut like so.
So it's going to depend on how you fold your ribbon.
Which then bada bing, bada boom. Look at how easy that was.
A dovetail.
But as you can see, this, if this ever ends up being you, it looks like a crayon now. Sadie has her own crayon. And this
looks like a sash when you graduate college.
But I love the Demonstrate font. And
Yes.
again, I think the conversation about dovetails definitely needed to be hashed out because
I talk about it in detail in our ribbon video.